There you go. 6 o'clock, we have a quorum. Before starting a business of the sign board of appeals and the zoning board of appeals, chair prerogative would have the sign board of appeals go first. There are no objections.
Oh,
Hereby call this meeting of the sign board of appeals to order. And although both agendas say pledge of allegiance, unless there are any objections, I propose we do it once for both. And speaking of which, please join me for that best part, the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. David Arking, that's me, I'm here. Andrea Cascarella. Present. David Corey. Here. Brenda Frizzell.
Here.
Timothy Kaltenbach.
here,
Robert McConnell.
present.
Peter Skiles. Here. All right. You have your agenda from the last sign board of appeals meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve it. If there is.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Frizzell, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kaltenbach seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. All right, are there citizen comments for items that are not on the agenda as a business item for this meeting, for the sign board? I have to ask.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, are we approving the agenda or are we approving the minutes?
That should have been for the agenda.
Okay.
Oh, did I say minutes?
You did.
I'm sorry, I meant agenda. Yeah, I meant to do agenda there. Sorry about that. But I will get to the minutes. No, I won't. We've already approved the minutes. I'm going to do approval agenda right now. Approval of the agenda. So I would entertain a motion to do approval of the agenda.
Second.
Moved by David Corey, seconded by Brenda Frizzell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Now, just to make sure I covered this, citizen comments for items not on the agenda. Hearing none, moving on. Correspondence, staff, is there any correspondence concerning tonight's business or any other business for sign board?
Not tonight.
All right. Cool, minutes did that. All right, new business we have before us, sign variance number PPSV 2025 000026900. Staff, you want to introduce the petition?
Before the sign board of appeals tonight is a request for a second sign from the future McLaren site located at 6900 East Saginaw Highway. Overhead, we're looking at Saginaw Highway to the north and Nixon Road to the east. The two proposed signs would be along Saginaw Highway, right where my cursor is, and the second along the Nixon Road frontage right here. The applicant has provided a general narrative for the request, which was included in your packet, answering the 7 stated criteria within the ordinance. Packet also includes rendering the proposed sign, which is approximately 24 square feet. Typically, a sign could be as large as 75 square feet. The signs are to be internally illuminated and consistent with the style of signage typically found in hospital complexes. A similar request for additional signage was recently before the Sign Board of Appeals for a tailgates convenience store on South Kreitz Road, which the Sign Board of Appeals approved. The applicant is here to answer any questions. I'm also available to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for staff?
No.
See if I've got any. Is there anybody here this evening that would care to speak to the petition from the
We've got two residents in the audience that have questions about the project.
sorry?
We have two residents in the audience that have questions about the
Okay.
project.
Hi, my name is Tracy.
Oh, okay, come on, come on up, introduce yourself and give your address, please.
My name is Tracy and I live in Townsend on the Park, right next to the property. And
Let's see
I'm
your actual address for the record.
12948 Townsend Drive, number
Thank you.
212, Grand Ledge. And I am president of the condominium board association there. And one of the concerns we have is there going to be any type of what am I trying, like a variance, some kind of fence or some kind of noise barrier, any type of barrier, I guess is what I'm asking. We have concerns that they're so close to, they're about 10 foot from our parking, where our parking is. It's very close. And so they would like to see some type of fence or really a noise variance, but I don't know if it's kind of asking for a lot, but a fence would be great.
I don't know that we get to address a barrier issue for the building.
Yeah, just around the property. Around
Yeah,
the
the
property that they own.
Yeah,
That's not related.
but yeah, we're only get to rule on the sign at this point.
Okay, okay. Can you tell me where we would go to address these concerns then?
Yeah, you'll want to start with me. So
Oh,
I'm the
okay.
planning director. Yep, I did talk to them in the audience just for a minute. So anything that this board isn't going to be able to address, we can talk about after the fact. And
Okay.
we work with the project, the McLaren
Okay,
company. So you got my card, so you can contact me
I
or
will do that.
tomorrow. We can set up a time to talk further about it.
Thank you for taking the time to listen.
Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Cindy Larkin. I live at 12907 Townsend Drive at 512. But I'm on the park side, so this really, the lighting won't bother me as much, but I'm afraid that having bright lights coming from two different directions into our complex 24/7 will cause the prices of our homes to go down. So if they're going to have signage, I don't want to, they need to put up some kind of trees or something to help us not to be staying up all night staring at lights. We shouldn't, where we're at right now, we already have a problem with people backing up so that we can't get in and out of our complex. So we don't really want more irritating circumstances of bright lights from these two huge signs.
Dave, can you put the graphic up of the
Yep,
layout?
I
of
did.
the-
Right there.
Can you indicate where you're at, so I can have a better feel for that?
So,
Okay, so here's
Which-
the first sign, here's the second sign, you're this one?
yeah, that one would be the one that would more affect us.
You go to the side of Nixon?
Nixon Road would affect where I'm at. Because when I look out my property, I would see that sign from Nixon Road. Where Tracy is at, she would be more affected from those to see the Saginaw sign. Cause that property backs right up to our complex. It's all cleared out now
So,
for future expansion.
so Dave, if I have a question, if the second sign was the only sign, as designed, would it be legal?
If there was only one sign, yeah.
Yeah, it would.
So I mean, there's illumination standards built in and brightness standards built into our sign ordinance, which they have to meet. I don't anticipate the sign being brightly lit. It'll just be lit enough where you'll be able to easily discern and read it. During the Altium
I knew you would know that.
conversation we had about 2 signboard meetings ago, similar concerns were brought up, and we requested that the applicant provide a photometric plan showing that they do meet our standards. Something like that could be applicable in this situation as well.
There'd be a certain number of lumens, I think, in that other case, yes.
It can't exceed 100-foot candles. So it might be appropriate to place a condition on the, if you choose to consider this request on the sign to ensure that that happens. And I mean, really, you don't even need a condition. It's in here. We can enforce it as is.
That's true.
And so to elaborate on what Dave is saying, just for the resident here, that we have both an illumination standard, so it can't exceed 100-foot candles, and that's, you know, an illumination measurement. It's kind of hard to envision in person, but we can show you what that means. And then also we do have the light provision that any light from an illuminated sign has to be shaded, shielded, or directed so that will not be objectionable to surrounding areas. So we can look at if there is a way that this is shining onto your properties or in that general area, that they could either landscaping or something to address that. So we can do that under the current provisions of our ordinance, and that would be through my office.
Okay. I'll just bring up the other issues we have with you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience care to speak to this petition? So at this point, I guess I would entertain a motion if somebody cared to make a.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Make a motion.
Chair. I move to approve the requested variance from Schedule C, Section 3230 of the Delta Township sign ordinance to allow one additional ground sign for property having one additional business at 6900 East Saginaw Highway. And the applicant has demonstrated the variance request satisfies the review criteria established in Section 32-21 of the Delta Township sign ordinance. And I don't need to make any conditions regarding the lighting. Is that correct?
Like Peter did a good job saying they can govern that on their own.
Yeah, I think that the ordinance gives me enough leeway to, if we do run into issues, to require shading, shielding, whatever we need to do to ensure that there's no light, if there are impacts, to address those or mitigate them.
Okay.
Yeah, if you come up here, please.
The monument sign that we've.
I'm sorry, please
your name and
introduce
address
yourself
for the
and
record.
put your
My name
address.
is Dan Kivett. I work for Signs by Craney at 4145 Marketplace Drive, Flint, Michigan. The monument sign that we proposed is it's a routed push-through sign with vinyl copy on the front of it, which automatically adds as a shield on the illumination. From listening or from her speaking, I am gonna take a look at the foot candles when I go back to make sure that we are within the means of Delta Township as well. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the Mr. Kivett? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Did you finish motion? You finished making your motion?
I did.
Okay, the chair supports the motion. We have a motion on the floor. It has support. There's a roll call vote. David Arkin, yes, aye. David Corey,
Aye.
Brenda Frizell,
Aye.
Timothy Kaltenbach,
Yes.
Robert McConnell,
Yes.
Peter Skiles.
Yes.
The motion passes. Staff, will you inform applicant of the next steps?
Next steps would be submit, for the actual sign permit.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
One down. Does anybody need a break? Anybody call this meeting of the sign board, out of order?
We skipped some items, right?
Did we? Oh, I'm jumping ahead again. I'm sorry. Forgetting to hit the gavel. Other business. Do we have other business?
We do not. I just wanted to go through them
All
since
right,
we,
no, I appreciate the process. Staff comments.
I have a staff comment. So, we don't typically have meetings where the sign board of appeals and ZBA both have items. I would propose next time around to make our administrative jobs a little bit easier. To do these, this was a combined packet. What I like to do is one agenda where we have sign board of appeals open and close their meeting. We have the ZBA items. There aren't a lot of items typically. So if we could all fit that into one agenda, it would make our lives a little bit easier. One agenda, one packet.
A homogenized agenda, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be delineated, so it's very clear what everything is, but I just wanted to. So you can still go through the motion of opening and closing the sign board of appeals meeting. Do the same for the zoning board of appeals meeting, but we would do it as kind of a one. You are in the sign ordinance, it directly says that, the ZBA is the sign board of appeals. It doesn't give a lot of their information about the administration of the sign board of appeals or anything like that. So I was gonna treat it as if it's all kind of essentially one. You'll still take items separately. I just don't want anyone to be shocked when you see that next time, if this happens again.
Will
To be
will
shocked
the
at.
front end of the process be singular? So that we already did with Pledge of Allegiance.
Exactly,
We'll
yep.
just have one process
Yep.
for that.
That was the goal, is to try to cut down on some of the procedural, just to have it as one agenda, really.
Makes sense.
Does everybody understand the
Mhm.
proposal? Any issues?
I have no
I think it's a good idea.
All right. Thank you.
Do we have to vote on that or?
No.
Okay,
No, I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up.
Two pledges of allegiance.
well, I'm dedicated to the
We
country.
have to vote again during the sign board of appeals meeting and then again during the CPA.
Well, you do get to comment on it now because we come to board comments. So, any board comments.
I have no comment.
Well, in that case, adjourn officially.
6:18.
All right. We're gonna call the zoning board of appeals to order. We've already done the pledge. I will do the roll call order. David Arking here. Andrea Cascarella. David Corey.
Here.
Brenda Frizell.
Here.
Timothy Kaltenbach.
Here.
Robert McConnell.
Present.
Peter Skiles.
Here.
We have a quorum. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor has support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is adopted.
No citizens.
There are no citizens, so I'm not gonna ask for citizen comments unless we'll be hiding. Have you received any correspondence on this tonight's business or any other business for the zoning board?
We have not.
You have before you the minutes from the March 11th, 2025 regular meeting of the ZBA. I would entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
A motion on the floor has support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, minutes are approved. New business, we have a variance extension request at 302 South Waverly Road. This is a little different than our usual fare because we're not being asked to approve a variance. We're asked to just approve an extension. So the few times this has come up in the past, we have not made them jump through the hoops of answering the questions to justify the variance, but asking more to justify the extension. And I have a feeling this has to do with other changes that are being made. And staff, would you care to speak to this petition?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. So there's a memo in your meeting packet that kind of explains the history of the permitting that has been done for this project, but I'm just going to provide a summary overall here. The project at 302 South Waverly, it's an old office building, has been used for a variety of things over the years. A new owner came along, Tanya Sims. She operates a business called Just Us Kids, and it's a childcare center. She operates it out of her home right now, which is actually just north, just kind of down the road in that same neighborhood behind that, the office building, and has been working for the last couple of years to transform this building from an old office building to a childcare center on the lower level. And when you last heard this case, it was originally going to be offices upstairs. That has since changed a little bit in scope, as there's no dimensional changes to the building, but it's about the content of the building. So it'd be a childcare center on the lower level and 8 apartments on the, I'll call it the ground level because it's a walkout basement. So that's the project. There's several things have happened since the ZBA heard this case, and I'll get into what the ZBA looked at that point. But the Township Board granted a special land use permit for the childcare center back in 2023. They got a 1-year extension earlier this year. So they have 1 more year under that SLUP to get the project moving. And then the whole property was rezoned from office to commercial. That was done to help them qualify or to facilitate them qualifying for a mixed use building, which really just allows them to put, it's the only avenue right now in our ordinance to get a mix of residential and commercial space. So they were granted that approval by the board to facilitate this project. So everything else is kind of in line. They, back in 2023, the ZBA granted 3 variances. One, they got a variance, and I did include the staff memo and some other diagrams for the project in your meeting packet. But they granted 3 variances. One, to allow, for childcare centers, they have to have at least 5,000 square feet of open space to be used as a play area for the kids. So that typically is not allowed in the front yard setback. The ZBA granted a variance to allow that. They also, the ZBA also granted a variance to eliminate required landscape buffer along Hume, which is the south of the west side, which is where that childcare center is. And that was just because there isn't a lot of space back there, and it allowed them to have that, to expand further to the west to allow this outdoor play area, which is a pretty significant size if you see the diagrams. And then the third variance was to eliminate the requirement to install concrete curb around the parking areas. So the project itself is still in the same configuration and layout as you saw it from a dimensional perspective. Obviously, the inside of the building has changed slightly. The owner has been working very diligent. They could not be here tonight. I am working with them on a couple different fronts, both the land use permitting stuff and then kind of the economic development perspective of it. They have been working to assemble financing for this project, which has not been easy. So that's really the primary delay in the project. They are working with a consultant to help them find grants and other things to work with this. They were working with the MEDC for the same purpose. They've hired a housing consultant to kind of work on that aspect of it. So it just hasn't come together yet. So they're requesting that you allow a one year extension for this. After this 1 year extension, much like the SLUP approval, they would expire completely and have to come back and reapply, pay another fee, reapply if they want to continue on and keep their approvals valid. So this would be for one year extension of the 3 variances were granted. It would get them to January 10th of, so next January, to try to finalize this project. And by that, I mean, they've got to have really a building permit to start on the project. That's what I mean by like commence. They've got to commence.
Peter, it sounds to me like they've been working with you diligently and in good faith, and that you have confidence that this is going to pay off.
Yeah, I am confident that if there's a way to get there, that they will find it and make this project happen.
Is there a limit to the number of extensions they can request?
Yes, they get one year extension.
That's all we can get.
Yep.
After that, it's as you said, they're back to the drawing board applying for a new variant.
They would reapply, and it could be the exact same thing, but would have to start over. That means we renotice it, charge a new fee, to hold a new public hearing.
Any other questions or?
What's SLUP?
Special land use permit. So, yeah, it just means the use they propose needs, a little further scrutiny based on what it is and kind of where it is.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Mr. McConnell.
I move that the Delta Township Zoning Board of Appeals approve a one-year extension of the 3 variances approved for 302 South Waverly Road, extending the approval period from January 10th, 2023 to January 10th, 2026.
Support.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. McConnell, support by Mr. Corey. Roll call vote is called for. David Arking, yes. David Corey,
Yes.
Brenda Frizell,
Yes.
Timothy Kaltenbeck,
Yes.
Robert McConnell,
Yes.
Peter Skiles.
Yes.
The motion passes. I'm sure Peter will take the necessary steps to advise the applicant of that.
I will. Yeah, thank you.
You know, we just got a new guest at the table.
I see that. But the record show that Ms. Cascarella has joined us. Thank you.
Yeah, my apologies.
That brings us to item number 9 on the agenda, other business. The other business is election of officers.
Okay, so there, again, there's a memo in your meeting packet that provides some background on this, but I'll provide a summary just since we're here in the meeting. The ZBA has every group has a little bit, sometimes it's named different things. Planning Commission has bylaws, but zoning board of appeals has what they call rules of procedure. And that's your bylaws. And so every year it requires that you, from amongst your members, select a chair and a vice chair. It actually identifies that it's done at what your annual meeting in April. So that didn't happen. There was no meeting in April. So consider this the annual meeting where you would elect officers. So the officers for the zoning board of appeals are chair and vice chair, and that's pretty typical of other boards and commissions. The chair runs the meetings, points of order, procedure, that kind of thing. And then the vice chair does that when the chair is not available. The one thing that's a little bit different for in this case, in this perfect example of this evening, we have the zoning board of appeals in the code of ordinances is also the sign board of appeals. Like I said earlier, not a lot of background on administration not a lot of detail to give us you don't have your own separate, as the sign board of appeals, you don't have a whole separate administration section like the ZBA does. So in this case, we're treating you like with the agenda that I mentioned earlier, really is just one body. And so the officers you elect for the zoning board of appeals would also serve as the officers for the sign board of appeals. So right now the chair is David Arking, the vice chair is David Corey. The slight wrinkle to this is the board has adopted amendments to its appointment of boards and commissions policy. That included a provision that limits the chair specifically of any board and commission to no more than 1 consecutive term. And I emphasis on consecutive, that person could be chair again in the future, but the idea is to have a rotating chair. So I'm suggesting that you would elect a new chair if a new member is willing to serve. So if someone among the group is willing to serve as chair. However, if there's no volunteers are available to serve, any member not otherwise ineligible, and the only person that's really ineligible here is Trustee Cascarilla, by ordinance can't serve as an officer of the zoning board of appeals. So could serve as chair. So that's it. Though the way this would work is the chair would request nominations for chair and vice chair positions, and then you would vote by just simple majority. And we will track everything.
The new rule limits the chair to 1 term.
Yeah,
Does not limit the vice chair to 1 term.
correct.
But you're still suggesting we vote for a new vice chair.
Sorry, I'm suggesting you at least vote for a change to chair with no disrespect to Chair Arking.
I'll take it.
I'd like to nominate the vice chair for the.
Wait, let me make the motion. I would now entertain motions for nominees for chair and vice chair.
Okay. Sorry. I repeat it. I'd like to nominate the vice chair to be appointed as the new chair.
Support.
Second.
I second that, but I'm not sure he wants it.
No, wanted to stay as vice chair.
As vice chair.
Happy to nominate myself as vice chair. I support you. Things like that. This is all.
All right, I'll do it.
Good man.
Let me ask a question. Can the chair be a vice chair?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm not,
Vice chair.
I'm okay with you. I was just asking the question.
Well, I think we have a nomination and a second.
I move the nominations for chair be closed.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay, so the nominations are closed. We do have to do a roll call vote on Mr. Corey as chair. David Arking, yes. Andrea Cascarella,
Yes.
David Corey,
Yes.
Brenda Frizell,
Yes.
Timothy Kaltenbach,
Yes.
Robert McConnell,
Yes.
Peter Skiles.
Yes.
All right. Congratulations. You're the new chair effective at the end of this meeting.
Okay.
Thank you for your service.
Vice chair, right?
So I would entertain motions for vice chair.
I nominate David Arking as vice chair.
Golly. Is there a second?
Second.
Does anybody else want to be nominated? I move we close the nominations.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, nominations are closed. To do a roll call vote. David Arking, aye. Andrea Cascarella,
Yes.
David Corey,
Yes.
Brenda Frizell,
Yes.
Timothy Kaltenbach,
Yes.
Robert McConnell.
Yes.
Peter Skiles.
Yes.
All right, so that concludes our stated new business. Is there any other business? I'm sorry. Any other business? Other.
no other business.
Okay. Staff comments.
Thanks for being here tonight. We don't have any new cases lined up, so we'll advise you as we head into June. But we're not anticipating a meeting.
Board comments.
Thank you for your services, chair of this
Here,
body.
here.
Been a while.
How many years has it been?
Been quite a while. I think I've been on this body since 2009, but I think I've been chair only since like 10 years.
You've done a good job.
That's
Yeah.
quite the tenure.
Thank you. Do we have a anticipated opening date for the new ER?
The McLaren?
Yeah.
No, it's just fall sometime. But yeah, I will definitely let everyone know when that is established.
Can't happen soon enough. There's just too many people on the west side for not having an ER over here.
If you find yourself on the internet bored at night, there's a construction cam, a webcam 24/7. On the McLaren website, so you can watch the construction happening. So if you ever wonder what the status of the project is, you can just log in and look.
I see what you do at your spare time.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
I log in at 1 AM and it works and it's dark
Really?
and there's nothing happening when I go.
Any other board comments? Any other issues? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, got through with 2 meetings. in half an hour.
I'm sitting in the parking lot.